Oh man, you're almost done with your tea. We haven't even started.
I know. It's like I'm halfway.
Man. Well, we can get started whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were kind of talking about it earlier about how, travel, like, the only way you would be able to travel like that is because you do have your own business and you are an entrepreneur. Um, what was like the most significant reason for choosing your job, your career path of being an entrepreneur and having a small business?
So, there is a couple of there's a couple of answers for that question. Number 1, I didn't quite choose it. It kind of chose me in a way.
Hmm.
And then and to preface that, I guess everyone wants more free time, more
Yeah.
money, and you don't want to work for someone. I don't think anyone just enjoys working for someone else and says, "Man, I cannot." You may love your job and the people you work with, but I don't think a lot of people say, "Man, I can't wait to." Normally, when you talk about your boss, it's in a negative connotation, like my boss," or maybe you're one of the lucky ones that has a cool boss. You know, a few and very, So
Yeah.
for me, I was working a full time with AT&T. Best job I ever had. Great pay. Probably
Hmm.
the best, one of the best companies with, in regards of benefits out
Hmm.
there. And I only had very limited time off. So what I did during that time off was pick up weddings, events, live streams, whatever, to do
Hmm.
the media production business, photo, video, live stream,
Hmm.
setup, training, whatever. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like a side gig. It was nice because I'll get my paycheck, and I was like, instead of taking the weekend off and enjoying it with my family, I can go, I can go do something that I love. So I kind of wanted to balance that. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna go work, I need to be making some money. So I charged for my services, and that was a side gig, but I really enjoyed it because I got to travel.
Yeah.
I kind of got burned out a little bit though, but eventually, when I lost my job, fast forward, 4 years, I lost my job with AT&T in 2019. No, 2018, May
Hmm.
2018. So then, we're not gonna get super spiritual because this is like a school assignment or whatever. But God has prepared the way,
Hmm.
and that was kind of the theme of some conferences and even my pastor and even an evangelist. So I was like, okay, I get it, God. So I started doing it full time, and it was either that or get another job. And I was just so disappointed, so depressed, felt so useless. You feel so like you're worth nothing. Like they can just say, okay, well, we don't need you anymore. And it was seniority based. So they got rid of all the people at the bottom of the totem pole, which are kind of like, you're like, well, I'm new. I want to keep my job. I'm going to work harder. And then people that have been there for 25 years, they don't work as hard and they have more seniority.
Hmm.
And when it's, what is it called? Company with, I can't think of the name. Um, Union. People that
Yeah.
have been there longer, they don't get kicked out. It's
Hmm.
always the guys at the
Yeah.
bottom. So
Hmm.
they let us go. We were gone. I started doing the media full time, and it was going great. Things were like God opened a lot of doors,
Hmm.
and I was really enjoying it. I was traveling a lot more. I had more free time, but then sometimes it kind of got close because it's not consistent. I mean,
Yeah.
God
It's
kept
not.
sending them, but it wasn't consistent sometimes. And I was like, you
Hmm.
know what? I'll take the time to, spend it with my family or be more involved at church. And it was
Hmm.
it was great. It was great. Um, and then towards the end of 2019, I got the opportunity of doing a live stream for a pastor and his wife in uh, California City slash Lake Isabella, the Hodges,
Hmm. Yeah.
and they're the ones that kind of told me about it. I was like, how do I get in? They're like, well, you need this much, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, wow, that's about how much I have. So that was a leap of faith. Do I keep doing what I'm doing, or do
Mm-hmm.
I trust God and start a business at the end of my rope? Because you, when you get my age, see, I'm 34, 33. I was 32.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, man, I'm getting up there. I didn't go to school. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, go start from the bottom again? I gotta do this. I had to. That was my. I gotta take a leap of faith. So here we go, God. And I started the second business, with Box Rub Benicia. The mattress business, and then
Mm-hmm.
I started in at the beginning of 2020, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just chugging along, and then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and you know how that went. But what
Yeah.
I had to my advantage was, um, it's by appointment only. The business model is by appointment only, and it's not a retail store, so I didn't have as
Mm-hmm.
many restrictions as all these big box stores. And then
Yeah.
that, along with the pricing, the unbeatable pricing, because I get everything factory direct. It's like, it was great. So people were coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was an interesting year, starting a second business in the middle of a pandemic
Yeah.
was exciting. But then when you're doing it, when you're, in a fraction of the time, you make multiple times the paycheck that you were making, then it's all worth it, like,
Yeah.
there are those days that, 2 3 days or a whole week, 2 weeks, where it slows down,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just starting, and you're like, man, what am I gonna do? What if this is it? What if I don't get more clients or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
But then there are days when you're like, man, like, that was nice. That was a nice little bunch of people, or ideal customers, as we like to call them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
um they just kind of walk in there, they already know what they want, they see the value, and they see that the prices are way better than any store, and they're like, hey, man, we'll support small business, here we go. And they'll make a big purchase, and it's like, man, thanks, thank you, Jesus. That's great. um so it wasn't so much as that I wanted to do it, I was just kind of, it was just timing. And
Mm-hmm.
I know it was God's timing, because everything just kind of lined up. And then it came down to, do I want to keep doing what I've always been doing, or do I want to take a leap of faith and just try something different that may change my
Yeah.
life? And so far it's been going great. I I got Aaron towards the end of last year. That's my first
Mm-hmm.
employee. And now, I was able to, before that, I was able to tell mom to quit her job or to not go back to work. They were laying people off because of COVID. And I was like, you know what? Don't go back to work. Come with me. Help me out with the Spanish speaking folks. And that was it. She hasn't worked ever since. She was able to go to Texas. That was like the most satisfying thing about having my own business. Being
Yeah.
able to, tell my mom, hey, you don't ever have to worry about anything ever again. Because 'cause she's a single mom, and she raised
Yeah.
us, and it's always just been her. So to be able to give back, that's
Mm-hmm.
nice. And now, like, with everything going on, she doesn't have to worry. Um, and then I'm trying to get my brothers to also, like, Luis. Well, Luis has his own business, but it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
different. And the little one, well, because it's life changing when you have your own business.
Yeah, it is.
So, and I think I'm forgetting another part of the question. What made you want to do it? And then,
And then why did you choose entrepreneurship as a business, or a small business as a career?
uh huh.
But you kind of covered that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wrote some like pointers, but
Oh,
we
you
kind
can.
of covered all of them.
Oh, okay. I mean, you
Yeah,
can
you
ask.
kind of covered them in your story.
Yeah. So,
Um,
for context,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we covered most of it. Was there ever like a point where you're like, you kind of mentioned that there were some days where you're like, am I going to make it? Was there a point that you ever kind of regretted it? You're like, man, that was a lot of money I put in. I don't know if I'm ever going to get my investment out.
Well, you know, I was talking about timing earlier.
Mhm.
I've been through so much just being an immigrant. The things you go
Mhm.
through, it's kind of like, it's not a victim mentality, but it's like a you already been through so much. You kind of have a mentality of how much worse can it get. I already kind of been through the worst. So
Yeah.
you learn how to be grateful for even little, like whatever little you have, you become more grateful, and even
Mhm.
little things excite you, like um so on those days you kind of start looking at plan B, like, ooh, what if it doesn't work, what if I have to cancel my, because it's like you're paying your housing, your bills at home and all that, and
Mhm.
then you also have the business. That's another set of the
Yeah.
delivery vehicle, the rent, the all the expenses that come with a business.
Mhm.
And now it's like times two. So then when you haven't had a client in days, or when it slows down, it's like, ooh. But then I don't think there was regret. You kind of think about it, but it's like, I got this far, like I can't stop, I can't give up.
Yeah.
And then this is another thing. I'm from a third world country where I don't think there's an option to, like, the way you set up a business to where you get another chance. Like, it's not like, oh, you fail and you can't pay your bills and you go to jail. It's like, no, there's like, it's embarrassing and people don't talk about it, but there's like bankruptcy. Like, you
Yeah.
declare bankruptcy, and it's like a defeat and whatnot, and it's like shameful, and it's like, oh, you failed. But then I believe if you're an entrepreneur, I hate that word. You you have the, I guess because some people, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. People that use
Yeah.
it like that is like, dude, shut up. Like, but then you become one, and it's like, I don't want to be that. Can we call it something else? Can we just call it business owner? Can we call it like?
Yeah. Until that's kind of what you are.
So, um,
But
but it's like, if everything goes wrong, like, there's still a way out, and I can learn from my mistakes and do better. So even if it's getting
yeah.
bad, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that's the kind of mentality that um pushes you to try new things or to take risks. I think it's all about risk. How much risk are you willing to take?
Yeah.
And a lot of people wouldn't have. I know that a lot of people that I know wouldn't have invested, the exactly the money they had left to kind of coast along for a few more months
Yeah.
until you find a new job.
Mhm.
Um, I instead I put all my eggs in that one basket, and it's like, well, I can
Yeah.
diversify later. Right now, let's get this, and I'm so thankful I did. And here we are.
Okay. Yeah. What advice would you have for someone else? Not to necessarily the same business you're going into, because I know you can start multiple in different areas, but like any startup business where you're investing a lot of money that you may not get out, you may fail, and you may have to start over again. But like, what advice would you have for people like that?
I would say learn as much as you can about whatever it is that you're interested in. Have
Hmm.
having the right information. Like, what permits do you need? What
Yeah.
this is something people don't talk about, but what loopholes are you gonna have to get through?
Hmm.
People say, oh, well, you're evading taxes, blah blah. No, if you do everything legally, if you set up the right permits, if you set up the correct
Hmm.
type of business that you have, um, if you pay yourself the right way, or if you make a certain amount of donations, like all of that stuff, like, find all that out before you make an
Hmm.
investment, and see who you're gonna have to talk to, the laws that, like, when you're in California, there's a ton more laws that you have to deal with, like recycle
Yeah.
fees and all kinds of junk. So knowing how you're gonna have to deal with that is half the battle. And then
Hmm.
also, you got to take risks, you know. The younger you are, you
Mhm.
have the most valuable asset ever. You have
Time.
time. So,
Yeah.
and maybe you don't even have to make the mistakes. You can read books, you can hear stories, you can talk to people who have succeeded. And a lot of the people that I've talked to that are now millionaires or that have several business, and some of them you can see in my podcast, they either went bankrupt or they had like a ton of stuff or, going, and then they lost it all. But then when
Mhm.
you start again, it's like, now I know. Then back to number one,
Yeah.
information, your knowledge. You know, making your decisions with wisdom. You have to get that somehow, like whether it's from experience or from someone else. You wanna learn from someone else, but then if you just don't know, if you just have to try for yourself, even if you fail, you know, try again.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so that's my advice,
It's good advice. Yeah. Not only learn from your mistakes, but also learn from other people's mistakes.
and that saves you time.
Yeah. No, I think we covered everything that I needed for this assignment. Thank you so much for being willing to do this.
And it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for considering me for this assignment.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank
It was
you.
either you or my boss. So,
What?
yeah, I don't. What?
I didn't get the last thing you said.
I said it was either you or my boss.
Oh.
So, you're a friend because they in the assignment they say consider like what's the assignment say exactly? Because I'm not good at paraphrasing things. Um, sorry. Give me a second.
Oh, no worries. But anyway, I guess I can cut the recording now. So,
Yeah, you can.
this has been Marco with Lilly Bobo. I might spell it different on
Oh,
the,
really?
yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
that I just love that the way you spell it that way. That's so
The
cool.
French spelling.
Yes. So
Mhm.
anyway, all right. Uh cut.